Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from the Vatican. Less than a week after the release of a Pennsylvania grand jury report on decades of clerical sexual abuse and cover-ups in 6 dioceses, Pope Francis released a letter saying that no effort must be spared to prevent future cases of clerical sexual abuse and to prevent the possibility of them being covered up. Rome Reports has more details on the letter released by the Vatican.
The pain of the victims and their families is also our pain, says Pope Francis in this letter written to the people of God, which states, "With shame and repentance, we acknowledge as an ecclesial community that we were not where we should have been, that we did not act in a timely manner, realizing the magnitude and the gravity of the damage done to so many lives. We showed no care for the little ones. We abandoned them." The Holy Father recognizes the wounds caused by sexual abuse never go away. He makes it clear that no effort to beg pardon and to seek to repair the harm done will ever be sufficient, and no effort must be spared to create a culture able to prevent such situations from happening, but also to prevent the possibility of their being covered up and perpetuated. Pope Francis's message is blunt. The heart-wrenching pain of these victims, which cries out to heaven, was long ignored, kept quiet, or silenced. To prevent this from happening again, the Pope proposes putting an end to the culture of omission as a response and implementing one of solidarity that seeks to condemn whatever endangers the integrity of any person. Thus, he calls for the engagement of all, saying, "The only way that we have to respond to this evil that has darkened so many lives is to experience it as a task regarding all of us as the people of God." The Holy Father blames clericalism on a peculiar way of understanding the Church's authority, an underlying problem that supports and helps to perpetuate many of the evils that we are condemning today. He asserts, to say no to abuse is to say an emphatic no to all forms of clericalism. Pope Francis says it's essential that we as a church be able to acknowledge and condemn with sorrow and shame the atrocities perpetrated by consecrated persons, clerics, and all those entrusted with the mission of watching over and caring for those most vulnerable.
To conclude the letter, from a spiritual perspective, the Pope suggests an attitude of penitential prayer and fasting so that we may grow in the gift of compassion, injustice, prevention, and reparation as a way of combating all forms of the abuse of power, sexual abuse, and the abuse of conscience. In news from around the world, in India's Kerala state, the Catholic Church is stepping up efforts to help victims of unprecedented floods and landslides. Nearly 1 million people were in temporary relief camps after incessant rain since August 13th filled reservoirs of Kerala's 33 dams to the brim, forcing authorities to open water channels, causing all 44 rivers to overflow and inundate homes, farms, and roads in real ways. The flooding killed about 370 people. UCAnews.com reported that all 41 Catholic dioceses in the southern state have opened schools and other institutions to accommodate flood victims and are cooperating to send food, clothes, and other relief materials to affected areas. Thousands of Catholic volunteers have joined early cleanup efforts to protect communities from the risk of diseases and other health issues. On August 19th, Pope Francis urged the international community to assist those affected by the flooding. More news from around the world, with the World Meeting of Families taking place this week in Ireland and with the Pope visiting by the end of the week to participate. Rome Reports takes a look at some of the key elements and the history of the World Meeting of Families.
The World Meeting of Families in Dublin will be the 9th encounter. The first was organized by John Paul II in Rome in 1994. John Paul II said it's urgent to build a civilization of love and indicated from the beginning of his pontificate that the family would be one of his priorities. In 1981, he published the Familiaris Consortio. It marked the beginning of many messages and documents addressed to families. On this occasion, the chosen theme is one of Pope Francis's documents, Amoris Laetitia, which reflects on family love and its challenges.
And human love is created by God. And it was something that God gave and instilled in the human person. And it needs to be spoken about, and it needs, the joy of love needs to come out when we speak about marriage.
On the threshold of the third millennium, John Paul II stressed the importance of investing the family as a nucleus of societies of the future. Benedict XVI highlighted the value of the family as a transmitter of social and Christian values. Francis focused more on the internal dynamics of the family. In Philadelphia, he recalled that it's necessary to accept the perfect family does not exist, and suggested rediscovering the value of forgiveness.
Some of the other cities that hosted the World Meeting of Families include Rome, Rio de Janeiro, Manila, Valencia, Mexico City, Milan, and Philadelphia. And finally, in the news, the Archdiocese of Boston released a statement from Cardinal Sean O'Malley addressing a letter that his office received from Father Boniface Ramsey back in 2015 that detailed sexual abuse allegations against Archbishop Theodore McCarrick during his time as a bishop in New Jersey. In the statement, the Cardinal says the letter was received on his behalf at his office in Boston by his priest secretary, who responded to Father Ramsey that individual cases such as he proposed for review fell outside the mandate of the commission. Consequently, the Cardinal said the letter was not brought to his attention. The Cardinal said it's clear now that he should have seen the letter precisely because it made assertions about the behavior of an archbishop in the church. The Cardinal says in the statement that he takes responsibility for the procedures followed in his office and that he's prepared to modify those procedures in light of this experience. The Cardinal also said in the statement that allegations regarding Archbishop McCarrick's sexual crimes were unknown to him until the recent media reports. The Cardinal added that what makes this so difficult to understand is that it has been his experience that when a priest is being vetted to be named a bishop, any doubt or question concerning his faithfulness to his promise of celibacy would result in removing his name from consideration to be named bishop. He said that that will be what the Bishops' Conference will be investigating with the help of lay professionals. And that is all the information we have for you at this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV Network.